Revolution Radio, where information never sleeps.
Hi, and welcome to Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com with me, Paul Stevenson. I will be with you for the next 2 hours. That's 2 to 4 Eastern Standard Time and 7 to 9 p.m. in the UK here where I am. I'm going to look at a few stories today. The first one I want to look at is this one. I'm going to be looking at what's going on with Viktor Orban in Hungary and the persecution and the demonization he's received. Also, what's going on with China banning banning Qurans. Talk about one extreme to the other from this country. We have policies here to invite them in and turn a blind eye and stand down operations and total corruption. Talk about the double standard. As I say, to turn a blind eye to all this Islamic extremism that they call extremism, which is a much larger, ubiquitous problem within Islam itself. So, for some true, they turn a blind eye to this. That's why I'm saying it's a double standard, to this true hate speech and hate mongering going on in the mosques. And then they use the taxpayers' money to protect them, including convicted terrorists, as I outlined in this show, with our security forces, which are which the taxpayer pays for. And then the same security forces make people's, life a misery. Like Tommy Robinson, for example, et al., for exposing and resisting this Islamization of the UK, which, of course, as I've outlined before, is a Jewish operation. It's one of the great Jewish tools to sort of wreck Europe and the white indigenous people and the nation state and the Christian faith by the Islamization of the UK and Europe. I'm going to break down that a little earlier. I've done some stuff on it recently, getting into specifics with how Jews are pushing for immigration reform and are aggressively. There's so many of these Jewish groups. I mean, we saw this today with this pressure they're bringing on the Labour government about anti-Semitism. It's an absolute joke. I'll cover that on Monday today because I only saw that story about an hour ago. And here we have more, in my opinion, of just more odious and intolerable double standards. Asian grooming, they call them Asian. I don't know what you call it, you guys in America call it, but over here we call people from, Arab countries and Pakistan, Bangladesh, Indian. That's all called Asian. Mostly these grooming gangs are full of Muslims, Pakistani Muslims. So these, raping white girls. So Asian grooming gangs' rape of white girls, not racist, rules the judge. It's not racist. I mean, the double standard. The Attorney General is to review the jail sentences of Asian grooming gang. You can just put Muslim Pakistani scumbags. And as I said in the last show, I was breaking down about the lower moral standards in some of these countries, like India. Pakistan is terrible. And some of the, these Muslim countries and stuff like that. And this causation between corruption, dishonesty, and poverty. I broke it down last week in Vishal Mangalwadi's book. So the Attorney General is to review the jail sentences of Asian grooming gang after a judge ruled the exploitation of white girls was not racially motivated. Yeah, as I said, the double standard here. The judge's decision meant stiffer penalties for racially aggravated crimes could not be applied in the case of the Newcastle-based sex ring. How convenient. Penny Moreland. You can imagine this female judge, the social justice warrior, leftist, brainwashed judge. If that was a bunch of white guys, and it was a grooming gang exploiting, say, young Indian or Syrian girls or African American or African girls, you can be guaranteed the sentence, they would never see the light of day again. Their prison sentences would be so long because of racially motivated factors. Judge Penny Moreland said the gang picked out their victims, quote, not because of their race, but because they were young, impressionable, naive, and vulnerable. Yeah, so it seems that according to that logic, it's only white girls are young, impressionable, naive, and vulnerable. All those black girls and all those Indian girls and all those other Arabs and African girls, who are in this country, they're all just like, they're impervious to being exploited. It's only the white girls. To me, this is racist of the judge herself. And the upshot of this, of course, is more lenient sentences for these scumbag, pervert maniacs, who, in my opinion, should get the death sentence. There's hundreds of girls here, into the thousands of white girls, and they, consistently they're white girls. There's no other girls who were victims of this, and they said they weren't. The gangs weren't picking on them or exploiting them because of their race, but because they were young, impressionable, naive, and vulnerable. This is a disgrace. Prosecutor John Elvidge told Newcastle Crown Court the victims were, quote, white, British, and female, and without exception, and the defendants were, quote, of Asian extraction, unquote, but insisted there was no direct evidence, no race had played a part in the gang's process for selecting the girls. There's been, it even denies evidence, because some of these scumbags have come out and called the white girls white trash, and they're only good for raping, and all sorts of ostensibly unequivocal evidence of racism against white girls. And they groom them. What amazes me is that, why do our white women get involved with these Pakistani sleaze bags? What is it with them? Where is their sort of standards of morality themselves? That's what leaves them vulnerable, I think. That's part of the reason. It's naivety, I think, in their part. Lack of discernment or whatever. Not recognizing. I think they think they're nice. They're lying little scumbags who are nice until they get what they need, and then their true colours will be shown. And then it's too late for them, and they have to learn the hard way. Official sentencing guidelines stipulate that prison terms must be increased if crimes are racially motivated. So you see, they're getting less prison time because they're not racially motivated, according to these disingenuous, corrupt judges. Jeremy Wright, the Attorney General, is set to examine the jail sentences after a former Justice Minister referred the case for review. A total of 17 men and 1 woman have been convicted of almost 100 offences, including rape and human trafficking of vulnerable women and girls, following a Northumbria police investigation. Some members of the gang are being sentenced this week, with 2 men jailed yesterday. Mohammed Azrin, 35, was sentenced to 12.5 years for sexual assault, supplying drugs, and conspiracy to incite prostitution. So I'm saying, these guys are all up to their neck in it. They're up into prostitution and pimping and, inspiring prostitution, and they have all sorts of people on the payroll. While Jahangir Zaman, 45, was jailed for 29 years for rape, conspiracy to incite prostitution, and supply of heroin. Other members of the gang received shorter sentences as long ago as 2015. Including 10 years, Soulful Islam, 35, who was convicted of raping a 15-year-old white girl. This guy should be getting more than 10 years for raping a 15-year-old. Lord MacDonald, the former Director of Public Prosecutions, said he was in no doubt that, quote, aspects of the case are profoundly racist. So Lord MacDonald, the former Director of Public Prosecutions, said he was in no doubt that, quote, aspects of the case are profoundly racist. Lord MacDonald said, quote, they would certainly get stiffer sentences if the offending is racially aggravated, unquote. Mike Penning, a Conservative MP and former Justice Minister, said, quote, I have asked the Attorney General to look into this case. This looks like racially motivated based on the evidence. I don't understand the judge's ruling that this cannot be racially motivated. No one can understand it, especially in this climate of all this, you can't open your mouth, but it's racist, and this whole politically correct, racist, misogynist, whatever, xenophobic, Islamophobic. All of a sudden, we have a bunch of Pakistani Muslims raping exclusively and only white girls, and it's not racist. What is wrong with this picture? How much more evidence do people need to see that the war is on white people and the protection of these fucking scumbags that come here from third world perverted human garbage that we invite into the country to rape our women? So even this, so Mike Penning, Conservative MP and former Justice Minister, said, quote, I don't understand the judge's ruling that this cannot be racially motivated. Either do I, Mike, and neither can any other honest observer. In a previous case linked to the gang, one member expressed his contempt for white women when he was challenged by a ticket inspector on the Tyne and Wear Metro Badrul Hussein, 37, who was convicted of drug offences but cleared of inciting prostitution, told her, all white women are good for one thing. For men like me to FUCK, it's you know, I haven't printed the word, and use as trash, that is all women like you are worth. And this is what these guys, and it's not just Muslims, this is what these guys from these other, a lot of these guys from these other cultures and particularly Muslims think of white women. But they're not going to tell the white woman that to start off with, because the white woman in a way is a trophy to them. So they have to sort of like groom them and act, you know, loving and patient, and they give them money and they treat them well. And, you know, and the white girls think, oh, he's really nice. He's actually nicer than most white blokes. Yeah. Until your life's a fucking, like, you're treated like a dog living in a, you know, just like a caged dog being raped every time that he fancies doing it. And, you know, that's why they call them grooming gangs. They're liars, they're deceivers, and they'll do whatever that needs to be done until they get what they want. In a victim impact statement, one girl described the men who got her addicted to drugs as, quote, monsters. Another said, quote, the way they tricked us into thinking they were our friends was disgusting. There you go. They trick you into thinking that they really care about you and they really love you, and they'll say, and maybe, you know, they'll do whatever it needs to be done. And even if they did love you and they fell in love with a white girl and everything else, they're still going to treat you like crap once they get you on board. They're like their little thing, like their property. They'll be nice to you at first until, as I say, until you've submitted properly, and they'll do whatever needs to be done until that point. A third added, they made me feel special at first, but then like a piece of meat, and that makes me feel sick. And that makes me feel sick. The case has clear similarities with sex grooming scandals involving predominantly Asian men abusing white females in towns including Rotherham and Rochdale, and those are the places that we know about. The latest court case led to the forced resignation of Sarah Champion, the Labour MP for Rotherham. Oh, the Labour MP for Rotherham, that far-left Socialist Party. She didn't call it out. As the party's shadow secretary of state for women and equalities, yeah. So it says the latest court case led to the forced resignation of Sarah Champion. She didn't even resign willingly. She was forced. The Labour MP for Rotherham, as the party's shadow secretary of state for women and equalities, after wrote an article in the Sun newspaper warning that more must be done to stop gangs of Pakistani men targeting young. Oh, it's a forced resignation because she wrote an article in the Sun saying more needed to be done to stop gangs of Pakistani men targeting young girls for sex. So when she finds out about this, she writes an article in the Sun condemning it essentially, and then she's forced to resign. It's just like, what more do we need to know about how the favour is put on these minority groups, regardless of what they do? It's the same in Sweden. It's the same in Germany. It's all buried. The security forces are burying and not reporting a lot of this stuff because they're scared of being called racist, or some of the stories I broke down over in Sweden there, where the police take it on themselves. They suddenly become, you know, politically active, and we don't want to be giving ammunition to right-wing extremists. How bad can the right-wing extremists be? Worried about the right-wing extremists, so you must cover up the rape of your own women by Afghanistan and Pakistani and sub-Saharan African men. I mean, you could not make this up. But that's what's going on. And Sarah Champion here was basically forced to resign from the, again, the irony, the social justice is so selective. The great social justice warrior party of the Labour Party sacks Sarah Champion, the shadow secretary of state for women and equalities, when she condemns it. Couldn't make it up. Mrs. Champion apologized for her extremely poor choice of words. Unbelievable. Mrs. Champion apologized for her extremely poor choice of words after saying the UK has a, quote, a problem with British Pakistani men raping and exploiting white girls. What's the problem here? Where would you get that idea, considering we've just had exposed a bunch of Pakistani men in Newcastle and Rotherham raping white girls? I mean, you have to deny the truth, basically. You can't, this is, you know, insanity. This is called extreme censorship by the insanity of the selective social justice that the religion of political correctness affords people. You couldn't make it up. Unbelievable. So she apologized for her, quote, extremely poor choice of words. What was her extremely poor choice of words? Again, she's speaking the truth. The Crown Prosecution Service said in the court that although the 6 victims who gave evidence in the Newcastle hearings were all white, there was no evidence the gang was racially motivated. I mean, that's just total dishonesty. I mean, again, if the shoe was in the other foot, if you even had, I don't know, say half the girls, say these were white guys, and they were responsible for raping, so to say, even half white girls and the other half were minority groups, you can be guaranteed these guys would be prosecuted for racially motivated attacks because half of the girls were of ethnic minorities and not white. The double standard is just, it's repulsive and odious beyond what the English language can provide. Mr. Elvidge told the court the ethnicity of all potential targets is not known. Yeah. Well, it just so happens that the overwhelming ones that we do know are white. He added that in one party, a victim was black, and that another woman who attended was of Asian origin. Neither victim wished to give evidence. Judge Moreland said, although we have no evidence that they were victims of it, so all we have is the evidence and what we can run by that they're all white. Judge Moreland said, although the crimes were not racially motivated, she was handing down the harshest sentence she could. Yeah. This is extremely serious offending against vulnerable members of society, and that is the basis on which I intend to sentence. Cowards. The Attorney General's office said it would examine any referral made to it. And there's a picture here of about 15 of these packy scumbags. Look at the state of them. How can, look at, they're so ugly looking as well. I mean, what's the attraction here for our white girls to be involved with these? Look at the state of them. Again, they must have a deep need for attention or something. It's tragic. It's painful reading.